All right, it is 6 o'clock, and this is the Fairgrounds Committee meeting. We are in City Hall Council Chambers. It is September 5th, 2024. Next item is consider approving the minutes of the previous meeting, which was June 13th.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the June 13th meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have general agenda items for consideration. Fair update. Becky and Brad are not present.
Brad might be coming. Want to put him later if he shows up?
Yeah. Want to do a rodeo update?
Sure, ain't much. We're just preparing for next year. We got some arena work to do this year, this fall yet, after the quad races get done. Other than that, full speed forward.
Okay.
Alderman last year on the committee, you can join us.
Yeah, you should be sitting up here.
Fairgrounds.
Yeah. You're on
Joined it last week. We had a special meeting, weren't you there?
There's an agenda as the table is meeting.
Brad, sorry to put you on the spot right away, but get a fair update.
No problem. Apologize. My kids' practice went a little long.
You're fine.
So far, I think everything's going very well. Very well. We don't have any numbers in yet, from what I understand. It was a stellar year for beer, which is good for beer stands. A couple of the vendors that we had talked to had phenomenal years as well, so which is all good. We're still having a problem with the fact that we have too many animals, which is a good problem. So we're working on a couple of things. One of which, we're trying to get an estimate on working on the Locomotion building, possibly adding 20 feet onto it, coming out, just to really give them a little bit extra room, in addition to a possible additional building down the line. Some of you probably knew about the issues prior to the fair, a couple of water issues, electrical issues that came up, but everything went smooth as silk. Couldn't have asked for anything better with regards to it. So that worked out really well. One thing we did run into, which is not a major issue, is issues with the milk house. The drain collapsed last year. That's the reason why we had a milk flood going out of the milk house last year. This year we stored all the milk, probably had over 500 gallons in there that we had to dispose of. No way to drain it at all, because it went down probably 10 feet, or went over 10 feet and done. So most likely those cast iron pipes are no longer. So that's an issue that we'll have to try and figure out what to deal with. With that, we knew we weren't going to pass an inspection because of that issue, so we didn't worry about too much. The milk house, we'll have to remodel it a little bit, no board and stuff like that on the walls, because it hasn't been used per se for years. So we didn't have to worry about it because we didn't have that many milkers. But this year we had more milkers than we could deal with. So we will be redoing the walls and stuff like that. But I noticed today there's a leak in the ceiling. So we'll look into that before we do any remodeling of the ceilings and the walls. Another thing, possibility of getting some water lines put down the midway on the northern portion of that single lane going down the middle of the grass area, just north of the old bathrooms. You know what I mean? Because we usually have water lines going across that midway like crazy. Having one probably directly across from either St. Francis or St. John's, and then one down near the Optimist. Maybe tap into those water lines that are down there. Would be a great fit, then we don't have to worry about so many people bumping, going all the way through. Next would be, we ran into another problem, which is not a major issue. The band that we brought in needed a little bit more amperage than we had access to, so we put pigtails on the one electrical box. And our electrician was wondering, we've got a separate box just for the lights outlet, or the switches for the big lights. Wondering if you could put a box on just for pigtails, specifically because trying to get in and out with pigtails is kind of a pain. He said he would be willing to do it too if we were to get the stuff for him, but that's a suggestion to bring up to you guys, because we're not gonna tap into it without your, permission. And if we're having bigger bands or bigger events, we need some bigger line, and that's gonna be something down the line. We don't wanna have those pigtails hanging out there, for people to touch. Also, we found out too, that people have been using the outlets in the electrical boxes. So I think after the last event this year, we'll just shut off all the power to all the outlets and lock it. And then, they can't be utilized anymore. With the ideas of the bathrooms and milk house and such, we were wondering if maybe in the spring, some local artists would be willing to paint on the concrete walls, because they have to be redone eventually, because they're starting to peel like crazy. Maybe put in some, country scenes or historical scenes or something like that on it, instead of just plain white stuff. So that's a possibility down the line. Otherwise, as far as the fair itself goes, we had decent weather, cool, but it kept everybody really in check. We didn't have much for police presence down here as far as activity by police, which is always a good thing. But we had, I think the place ran fairly smoothly. Grounds were kept clean. We didn't have too much problems in that area. Nothing was breaking down, which is fantastic. And what other thing? Other than the fact that our musical act didn't go over real well, I think it all went fairly decent. So, other than that, that's all I got.
Okay.
As far as a building down there, you're talking about possibly one next to the local building?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's feasible or not, but I was told that the armory is going to be for sale. Is that something, and I don't know how much it would go for, but is that something the fair board would look into as far as doing that versus building something? If you could get it cheap enough?
With it being as far away from the other animals as it is, that might be a little bit of a concern. But nothing's out of the realm of possibilities, because we had already had a drawing put up for a building that would have been 140 feet by 80 feet with a 20-foot overhead, so 100 by 140 would have been that spot. But yeah, depends on what it looks like. Again, I knew that it was going up, but there was no time to discuss it either. But again, location is the issue, I think, with them.
A lot better idea for that building.
Anything else for Brad? Hearing none, we'll move on to permanent vendor update. Becky is absent. Move on to calendar of events, which is in the packet. Looks like we got gun show starting, festival grounds meeting today, and then gun show starting next week.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And a wedding.
And a wedding. I didn't want to mention that.
Anybody we know?
Okay. Next is review and discussion of fees for fairgrounds rentals.
I think this was brought up 2017, 18, somewhere in there, I think was finalized. I guess it doesn't hurt to review them now and then. Has everybody had a chance to kind of look at them? I've had some people say, is that all you're charging? So it may be something that we need to revisit.
Why am I missing the cost for the Bierman building? Is that in here?
Oh, no, that's not on here.
I think we adjusted the Bierman building costs based on what Town of Merrill was undercutting us at. But I still think the charge for an event that uses grandstand and grandstand and parking, well, I'd like to see that be $3 if it brings stuff in there, to be honest with you. I mean, we're gonna have charge for the janitorial service and that kind of stuff, but I would really love to see more stuff happening there. That's just my opinion.
There was a question that was brought up to me during the fair from the 4-H, the riders group, that's 4-H. And they were wondering about how to get a hold of the arena and not get charged an exorbitant amount to do the 4-H projects in the arena. They wouldn't be using grandstands per se, just like their riders club for the most part. Coming in, I know we gave a special rate to the riders club, but this would be for the 4-H group, horse group. And forgive me, I don't remember, I tried to get the information for this meeting and I fizzled on it. They didn't get back to me, but I don't know how many people would be involved in it and how often they were doing it. I know they were trying to get some businesses to allow them in to use their arenas, but again, they're businesses that use arenas. So at ours, it's empty, except for when the rodeo is there, Durgan Fair, or the specific dates for the Riders Club. So they were kind of wondering if there's any chance of getting it, for 4-H projects and such.
So the $250 for the grounds only is kind of what they're paying now?
That's what
Riders
Club, I think, is, because I know we had a big over charging them and quite a bit of discussion to get it down to that low for them, so we can use it.
Yeah, and as far as taking that sand on and off, I mean, but at the end of the day, we got $5,000 in taking it off and putting it back on.
Well, I'm just talking for...
No, but I mean, we gotta, if they're using it throughout the year, we're not making our money back.
Right, no, it is. And this is a totally different group from the riders, but this is actually 4-H kids and such, so...
I'd like to see us strip that sand off and leave it off after the rodeo for all summer for a year and just see what kind of events we could get in there. As it's been said that we could get a lot more events in there if the sand wasn't there.
Do we have it there because the horse people wanted it?
Well, they use it every third weekend or every other weekend, and they get charged $250 for it. And I'd like to try a year with it stripped after the rodeo, unless you guys need it for an event during the fair.
No, I kind of agree with you on that one, because it's kind of a pain to strip it off. And it was good that we had the ATV races right afterwards. We didn't have to put it back on right away, because I was afraid there's going to be a horse show first, and then, but now you got the ATV races coming in October. It's the same thing,
There's roughly 18 inches of sanded.
12.
Yeah, 12 inch of sandy mix that is necessary for horses, for livestock. If you ran underneath that 12 inches is hard pan, and that's the way it was designed. The hard pan.
Well, you got a clay track, and then you got the...
And that needs some work. I mean, it needs some maintenance.
So It's not a purpose-built facility. It was intended to be a multi-use facility. But that comes and bites all of us. Because it's not, the economics of a 3,000-seat venue is not sufficient. It's not going to pay for sins. The rodeo struggles with that every year. But that is the most successful event we have in here, is the rodeo. If we don't take care of the rodeo and its needs, we would be hurting severely in that facility. But it's the only horse event that comes even close to being economically functional in the grandstand. The other functional events that we have that are motorized. You know, we have a fairly decent gearhead population up in the North Woods, and that's, and it attracts people from as far away as Twin Cities, La Crosse area, into Iowa. Those types of gearhead events do have a relatively decent reach. But pulling that sand off and putting it back, you automatically wind up with a mixing, getting rocks and gravel mixed into that sand. And some of these horses that are going to go on top of that sand, you know, they're $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 horses.
150, 200,000?
Yeah, I was trying to be gentle.
No, I'm no be John, because I know.
So, so our risks actually of damaging a horse in mounted events is significant, because there's no way, with putting that sand back in and taking it out, in and out, whatever gravel's in there is gonna sift to the top. Gravel always sifts to the top in dirt. Whereas if it was isolated as an arena for rodeo, and then turned into an arena more for motorized events, I don't have a definition on this, but theoretically, you can start to make an argument for it, where it opens up a door where it's really tough to open a door when you're mixing the horse event. The mounted, the Riders Club, if they could find a home, Blue Haven Stables, I don't know enough about where they could find a home, but there is a lot of conversation that would have to go into it no longer being a home for some things that have been done, as opposed to continuing now, taking it and putting it up. We have to find a way to put a finer strain on that sand to hold gravel.
Well, and the rodeo's going to do that this year. They have a sponsor that's going to screen it for, I do believe, for a sponsorship. When we pull it off in October, they're going to screen it. But I think, at that time, we talk about leaving it in a pile and putting it on just before the rodeo if we have other events. It opens up a lot of opportunity. I was, no guarantee, but I was somewhat told that every other weekend there could be some motorized event there, even in months of, January, February.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to see, and you're drawing a lot more people in, and you don't want to make light of the Riders Club, but they've had it pretty good for a long time.
This committee of the city have done a phenomenal job of creating facilities in a small town environment. It should never back up to that. It's done a phenomenal job. But and it's never overcharged on rent for anything. Our rent is phenomenal. So we've never, no one that uses those facilities at the fairgrounds has ever been abused economically.
Should we bring that up next month?
That's what I was going to say.
I completely agree.
Just, so you know, to
Put it on.
the horse riders use it for the fair as well. I forgot about that one. So we'd like to look at that as well,
It's,
for their show.
yes.
So Lori, you got that down for next month's agenda? Thank you.
When there's events out there, is there any reason why we don't require them to use the assigned camping areas? Different events, I see people camping around the barns when the different events are being used by the stands. People are camping by the stands when we have slots already set up for camping.
We'll cover that when we get to the campground, but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
All right.
Which is next?
Yeah, we'll move on to update on campgrounds.
Alderman Last, you have anything?
Just that.
Rod, do you want to give an update?
Sure. You know, we've been looking at developing the campgrounds for quite a while, and we finally got our campground license from the county. I think it was just before the ATV event. So that's in place. I talked with the highway department about, they're gonna straighten the fence up, and there's kind of like cattle fence or razor fence on top. They're gonna straighten that up, and then our guys are gonna put a weave in there. It's kind of just a little bit of privacy fencing, and I think that's part of what we're gonna use the ARPA funds for. We had talked about tearing the old bathroom, that old set of bathrooms down, and after we got looking at it, the money that we would have to stick into this set that was behind, or the bathroom that was behind St. John's, we looked at that old bathroom, and we've got a design in there to make it handicap accessible and to get 2 shower stalls in there, which are handicap accessible. And the proximity to the camping area is a lot better. So that's the route we would like to take, and we're going to probably have between $25,000 and $30,000 into, upgrades of that. But we would have the same thing and then still have a less number of bathrooms on the facility if we tore that down and improved the other one. And then we're looking at some site work as far as removing topsoil and putting gravel down for pads on all 20 spots there, kind of define where the campsites are and make it more all-weather purpose. Probably just shy of $5,000 or $4,500 in that work. We'll do that ourselves. And then the fence, bathrooms, site work. We do have to get it up and running, and I don't know where we're at as far as the Iron Ranger, the registration system. We were going to go with that, and we've been looking into the system that we already have, and we've been not an excuse, but we haven't lived up to what we should have as far as getting some of the stuff done, and I apologize. We'll be moving forward with it and getting it ready for late fall or for sure next spring. That's kind of where we're at. We have talked, I think it's 2 items down here, but as far as the ARPA funds, we're going to use everything for campgrounds, and I think it was originally marked at $100,000. The Rodeo Association bought $21,000 worth of fencing to put all the way around the site. We will have some installation cost in that, and I don't know if that will qualify with you guys as far as the installation cost. I mean, it's the overall site, it's recreation. So I was looking to possibly use some of the money for that. So we're at the $65,000 to $70,000 range that we'll have spent out of the $100,000. And I know that's kind of what you were wanting to hear from us, is where you at.
Yeah. I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that. I mean, we earmarked it for fairground improvements, hoping for more campgrounds and improvements to the campgrounds. So if that is considered an improvement, then so be it.
We'll probably get some fire rings and stuff like that and get that all going.
Well, we have, like I said, we have the permit in place and some other things that were required of the permit, and he was very happy with what we're doing. So and we have a dump site, both our city's site, one Monday through Friday, and then the truck stop, which was within the distance that was required, so we didn't need an on-site dumping facility. So everything's kind of working out there. Your question was,
Why don't we require the sites to be filled first before we allow external camping around the campgrounds? Many events I've driven by or gone through, and they're just camping anywhere around the barns. When they have horse events, they're parked up by the, where the old pine trees are, just kind of hazardous. And I don't know where they're dumping their stuff. Hopefully they're holding it and dumping it out on the highway out there. But, no, I mean at the 51 truck stop out there. But I think, we're going to stick quite a bit of money into these camping facilities. Maybe that should be addressed in the funding, in how much we charge for the grounds.
and I know when talking with the health department, we had talked about separate events. The fair, you guys can park wherever you want. That's what he said. He said that's a separate deal with 4-H, that they get it wide open. Wherever they want to camp, they can camp. But even during the rodeo, he wanted us to put together kind of a map of where you're parking and include that in our overall plan, so.
Yeah, we do that drill team up by the barns because they use the barns for storing their horses and they want to be right next to their horses.
Yeah.
If they go down to the campground and camp down by the campground, they'll be setting up fences and stuff and they'll be tearing up the ground.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
I don't think you have issue filling those campsites with the amount of people that you attract.
No.
So I can see them being filled very quickly and they can spread out as they wish.
Right.
2 years ago, they were full. This last year, that was down.
And if they're,
Campers down.
if they're improved, as far as the pads and everything else, where they're more defined, I think they will be used
Yep.
more.
I think so too. We had more of a influx of out-of-towners staying at our local vendors, hotels. And that's part of the deal with bringing the rodeos, to bring business to our community people. And that's,
The tourism grant.
And then
that's awesome.
we reinvest in you with the tourism grant deal.
It's awesome to bring people in that use our local businesses.
Anything further on the campground update? Hearing none, we'll move to discuss and consider accepting the donation of the fencing from the Rodeo Association.
This happened since our last meeting, and it was kind of came up fast, and the mayor and I gave them the verbal that we thought that the committee would approve this. I know it's cart before the horse, but the mayor and I did tell them that we thought it was a good idea, and we did run it by a few other people, so the fencing is, it's solid, it's not like a wrought iron, but it will serve the purpose of delineation and last if it's installed properly. So we're just kind of looking for a motion to accept the donation. And it was just over $20,000, if I was, remember right, worth of fence that they bought.
And what's the length or whatever, like what area will it cover?
It'll cover everything from the armory up to the animal shelter, and then jump onto 6th Street from the animal shelter all the way up to the expo hall. And then from the expo hall all the way down to
The fair office?
all the way down to Lincoln County fence down there.
Alright.
Yeah,
1900, whatever it was. Yeah.
Is it just fencing or is there gates?
No gates.
it's just fencing. And we'll have,
It'll be similar to what was there 50 years ago when we were kids.
Yeah, well, years ago, there was always a concern because we had thought that some people may just say, screw it and lock their little kingdom up when they were done with it, and people wouldn't have access.
Have you ever heard?
I may want to ride my bike down the middle of Midway, and if I want to do that, I can do that. Now I trust our city government now that it's not going to happen, so I'm fine with it.
The other reason is the complaints, not the complaints, but from people coming from out of state. They come to our event and they say, what a nice facility, and you got this ugly snow fence. Why can't you do something to make it more appealing? And then they start naming off other places that have beautiful snow fences up.
It's antique snow fence.
It's antique already.
I will make a motion to accept the donation from the Rodeo Association of the fencing.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to accept the donation from the Rodeo Association for the fencing. Any further discussion?
I have one item I'd like to discuss with all this. It's kind of a sore subject on everybody's plate from the past. with installing that along Memorial Drive, my recommendation to take those red pine down.
Take them down.
And it will help Memorial Drive as far as the snow in the afternoon, and those trees are mature. My suggestion is to take them down, because it's going to be right in line with where the fence should go. We put it on one side or the other, it's going to be a maintenance issue, and,
And being one of the ones that mows down there,
yeah.
it's a pain in the butt.
It's not a part of our agenda, and I would tell you to tread lightly, because I think it cost somebody an election a few years ago, so.
I brought it up, we'll put it on the
Eventually,
next,
those trees are gonna die.
Oh, should I put it on?
put it on the next agenda.
And it's already, you got
Like
three-phase
May
power running across there too, and it's right on that west side.
We'll discuss it next month, but along with something like this, there needs public education, and that's what we've lacked in the past. We just did shit, and nobody knew why, and they got mad, so.
So next agenda, all right.
Just thought I'd bring it up.
26.
Nope. Might as well get it done. All right. Did I call the motion? Did we vote?
No.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion to accept the fencing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 8, discussion of the Lincoln County 150th year celebration. Jesse.
Yes, so Renee Krieger, the administrative coordinator, could not be present tonight. She has asked me to come in as a county board chair. My name is Jesse Boyd, if you don't know me. So she gave me a couple highlights to talk about, kind of where we're at, so I'll just begin with that. So there's 3 main components of the celebration. The first starts at 8 o'clock up in Tomahawk, goes till about noon. The second event will be from noon to 6, and that will be at the fairgrounds. There's an outline of what we have currently, but it's still a lot of stuff is subject to change. And also, throughout that week, beginning October 19th and extending to November 1st, there will be a history hunt. So you'll be able to go to all the townships, gather information, you'll gather a word, and it'll be random words all over this place, and you have to put it into a sentence. So that'll be one of the events that will be going on that whole week. As for the fairgrounds, so St. John's will have a carnival. The location will be preferred to be outside, but we need to have a backup for inside locations. To Discover Wisconsin will have a presentation at the Expo Center. Still needs to be confirmed by the planning, but planning at 2 p.m. We'll need chairs and to know whether there is access stage to audio and screen, etc., or what we should bring. So we need to know.
You want me to join your meetings? I'm with the Expo, so I can help.
I'm sure she.
Let you know what's there and what isn't there.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm just an envoy. I haven't really been part of this whole conversation, but I strongly suggest that the next meeting.
I'll get Renee his number.
Okay.
and then
What's the date on that
They
again?
can coordinate.
October 19th. Were you at the fair or the parade? They were handing out cards.
He stays at home at Labor Day. I was working 364.
Ouch.
Moving on, we'll have permanent food, beer stand opening. St. John's has confirmed no Optimist Club at this time, and waiting on St. Francis and the VFW/Eagles Club. The plan is to keep local people in those and not bring like food trucks and stuff like that at this point in time. We want to keep it local. Looking to reach out to food trucks if needed. We'll need a point of contact or someone willing to help with registration or reservations. Thinking about $25 as an entry fee to use to offset some costs. That's if we don't have the input of the standing food, permanent food places. We intend to have a tent with a band. The details are still pending there. The overall show will be a vintage and antique show. This is the area that I have no that she has no connections to. And again, she's seeking anyone willing to make those connections and spread the word and help organize the registration. All right, so she's looking to see if there's an inside building we can use. Generally, when things are going to go, are still open for discussion and guidance. And that would be backup for the carnival, stuff like that.
When you say carnival, do you know what do you mean by carnival? Just like games? Good question.
Yep, St. John's is putting on a carnival, that's all that she has down on it. I don't know what they're intending on doing, Brown's House, I have no idea.
The two buildings that are there, you'd have to kind of see what their space needs are. I mean, you got Steckling and the Cell building, but you'll probably be filled up with campers and boats by then, won't you?
Don't know exactly what the date is for campus, but yeah, that's a possibility.
I don't know if you can consolidate them in one and hopefully leave one open as a backup.
The Steckling, that one is ours, that one should be available, but
Okay.
again, we'd need to know how much room they need.
Okay. All right, I'll make note of that, because I only have one more point to discuss. What else is needed and need to do is, if we're gonna charge any fees for any sort of events, we'll need picnic tables, garbage cans, and we'll need to be able to set up on Friday for the Expo Center. That's everything on our list.
To make sure that we don't shut the water off down there.
We already talked about that. We feel comfortable with, I mean, with that date, we should be good.
We do have some guest speakers that plan on showing up for Discover Wisconsin. It will be, obviously, if you guys don't know, we partnered with Discover Wisconsin to help promote Lincoln County. What do you want to call it, the teaser will be broadcasted that day.
When you say Friday, I mean, normally we don't let people in there till noon on Friday. Is that early enough, or?
I mean, if that's the soonest, then we'll take it.
Yep.
But, yeah, obviously, the sooner the better. I don't know what all has to be set up, but I'm sure we're gonna wanna get the details of what we need for electronics, stage stuff, materials and stuff like that, so you bringing that information to the table will definitely be helpful to kind of pre-plan, so if we get it at noon, we got knowledge of what needs to happen within the time frame that we have.
Speaking on behalf of St. Francis, I think you should go to outside food vendors' trucks, because if we open it, maybe it should be for a specialty item. So, and you're gonna have long lines.
I had mentioned that to her, but I'm not kidding, I did. She kind of held her feet to the ground and said, let's see what we can do about getting all four of them open. If we can't get all four open, then we'll look. And she actually had a bullet point about that, yeah.
Yep.
We also got St. Paul's and local vendors that are local that could,
Right.
that are out of area vendors.
You could get JB's and, you know,
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Bill and.
But I did speak to Hallie yesterday, and she was gonna reach out to Renee with her contacts with food trucks, so.
I know that Mayhem did a posting on Facebook saying they're going to be set up across the street from Merrill Vet on that day. That's obviously going to be a distance away from the fairgrounds, but if they're going to set up there, they may want to set up at the fairgrounds and be closer to everything, so.
Gus, I didn't mean to jump in. If you got this going already, I didn't mean to jump in.
No, absolutely, you're the guy we're paying for this. There's no reason you shouldn't be leading the charge with them. You should be
Well, it's the
moved in.
first I've heard.
Yeah, and that's why we asked them to come to this meeting tonight to discuss it. In discussing with Hallie yesterday, when I talked to Renee, I met her in their office and she brought this up. It's my bright idea, and what the rest of us in the city wants to do, I don't know, is we need to host a fall festival of some sort at that fairgrounds, and hopefully this is a jumping point for us to say, this works, this doesn't work, this month works, it doesn't work. And one we're seeing in 2 weeks, it's gonna be fall ride, and all these people are coming through Merrill, and we wave as they go by.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest thing in the world. Why don't we do something here? So I think this is a great starting point. I'm glad they're putting up the money for it, and let's grab on the reins and go from there. So for you to get involved, absolutely.
Okay, got a good point.
Is there any other theme? I know you said, I mean, is there logging or farming? I mean,
I think the theme this year would be, well, not this year, it only happens once, right? 150th celebration. The theme is, like I said, the antique and vintage show. That's the theme. All things authentic and vintage to Lincoln County.
Your Edgar Steam days, these are people, I'm sure they have a mailing list. You say, hey, come set up in this corner.
I heard they didn't allow drinking this year.
I was over there. I mean, nothing. I thought there was.
I worked not far from there, and they all said that they're gonna ixnay it. Yeah, so that's what I know. I've taken notes here of what to bring back to Renee, but obviously she has email, county email, and a phone, so she's open to all suggestions. We're kind of like trying to get away from the suggestions and really nail down a direction, because it's a month and a half away.
Fast, yeah.
So it's more, we know what we want, let's get there type thing, so.
You need benevolent dictatorship.
Yeah. Ideas have come and gone, so.
I will get Renee and Rick coordinated together, phones, emails.
Thank
So
you.
they can work together, and Hallie too, so.
Thanks, Steve.
Rick, is there anything going on in the hall on Friday mornings?
No.
They gave us the land pretty cheap. We probably could let them in earlier.
$11.59.
I think it was only $1.
It was.
But they put the Humane Society there.
All right, gentlemen, that's all I got.
Thank you. We'll move on to monthly reports. We have Fairgrounds Manager Bjorklund.
I'm trying not to stretch this out too far. I was bragging about the event on Saturday, the car show and the parade. It's a uniquely Merrill event. You couldn't invent that from scratch and make it make sense. It's a parade with literally a 4-hour event, because at 4 o'clock the fairgrounds are empty. It would be unheard of to invent an event with those parameters. You couldn't get anybody to sign up. But that said, I'm bragging about that, our auction guy, Arnie Lang, and he volunteered to do a fundraising auction at that. In case that's something that you thought could fit, he'd be willing to do a charity auction at that, part of the car show or part of whatever.
Habitat for Humanity used to do that. I don't know.
I'm sorry?
Habitat for Humanity did that every Labor Day. I don't know where it went to.
I don't know.
With vehicles? It's been done before. Good idea.
If you think that's a good idea, I can tell them that yes, it's a good idea, start talking to people. If that's the, I don't know. Other than just an okay. We have a meeting, speaking of more events, a meeting towards the end of this month with Tim English, who's bringing in the next quad race in October. In fact, that the weekend after your event now is the next quad race done by Tim English, who produced the last one this last year. And he is partnered with a fella that wants to bring 2 or 3 snowmobile events into the grandstand in the winter. I used to know the Decker boys and all of that, and there's certain physical preparations that have to be made, but if they can be, it's worth exploring. It's worth talking to them, having the conversations. It would involve, just plain snow, snowmobiles eat snow. So there'd have to be a way to ice, certainly ice turns and ice berms and things of that nature, but it's worth having the conversation with them, and Rod and Mayor and I are talking with them towards the end of this month.
He showed up the 20th of last month. We had about an hour conversation.
Get away.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she did. Serious?
Yeah, he thought it was,
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, we used to have snowmobile
What?
races here years ago.
yep.
Two of them.
Yeah, and we dump a lot of our snow there right now, so I mean,
Yeah.
he was happy to hear that was our snow dump, one of them.
Yeah. All right, well.
Yeah, we're a little ahead of the schedule on that one, but yeah.
It's supposed to be on the 20th of this month.
Correct.
Yep.
All right. The auctions are still going good. Quad racing event I just told you about. The gun show's coming up this weekend, or I'm sorry, not this weekend, the next weekend after this. They just have their first ad in the photo news. And the quinceañeros and the weddings are still doing great. That word is spread amongst that community, and so we're doing good with those. That's it. I won't stretch this meeting up.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to place the report on file.
Make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to place the report on file. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next, we have public comment. Jesse, nothing? You spoke enough. Second call for public comment. Third and final. Date and time of next meeting is Thursday, October 3rd at 6. Does that work for everyone? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you.